all the stuff we absorb, the first place is going to go to, that's the most important thing about the slide, it's going to go to the liver.
You said all the things we absorb, the first thing, it goes to the liver?
Yep. All the stuff we're going to absorb first is going to go to the liver, since the liver is part of the portal system of the body. Okay? And small little fact, large intestine ends at the rectum. Getting a small visual. When we talk about the stomach, the main important thing is going to be digestion, right? So stomach is going to be digestion. The small intestine, what we're going to do is digestion is just stomach. You can't mix up these words, because when we go into small intestine and large intestine, what we're going to do is we're going to do absorption, right? And we're going to do secretion.
That's in a small intestine.
Yes.
Absorption and secretion.
I mean, really, when we say small intestine, we're really saying absorption, right? When we talk about large intestine, we're saying secretion. They could do both, though, because when you look at these arrows, it's not only doing one thing, right? They do both. So that's the whole point. That's why I said in the intestines, you do absorption and secretion. The rectum is where you do excretion.
And the rectum is part of the large intestine, so.
I'm sorry?
You said the rectum is part of the large intestine, so.
Are we good? It's really weird. People, I do it all the time. You get words like excretion mix. You just don't do it. And then it's very obvious when you look in here. You see excretion. X is just out, and what do you see? You see feces and you see rectum. So, 15, 17. What I would have loved to do is have this slide very big. My point in that is we could have just wrote notes for each one of them, because this all we're gonna do is we're gonna just travel, right? And the way I did it is I didn't bring my notes. Is as some of you seen, I did like the oral cavity, right? We're going to talk about lingual lipase and the salivary glands and what they do and what saliva is. And I just took a picture, a small little picture, as I'm sure some of you've seen, small little picture of the oral cavity or mouth, and I just wrote facts under it. I put that on the side. Did the stomach, put that on the side. Because you'll see, after we end, it's just going to be overwhelming. You're going to have to know all that. The stomach is, G cells, D cells, and GR cells, parietal and chief cells. And then you're going to have to do pancreas, which we talked about before. We're going to talk about the small intestine, brush border enzymes. It's just going to be so much shit. So do it in each piece of paper. It'll make your life so much easier. Okay? And I'm just going to go over words really quickly. Absorption happens all throughout the GI tract, but predominantly it's going to happen in the small intestine. Absorption. Excretion is going to be going from the rectum to the anus. Ingestion, when you ingest food, it's very important that you know you're consciously doing it. So you're consciously putting food into your mouth or the oral cavity. Mastication is grinding food, soft palate with your tongue, and the hard palate is on top, the soft palate is towards the back a little bit. Gustation is you tasting, and that's going to happen at the dorsal surface of your tongue, which we'll talk about. Deglutition, that is going to be swallowing from the oral cavity to the pharynx, and obviously potentially into the esophagus. Obviously defecation is just another name for excretion. Are we good? Alright, this is the fun stuff. Now we just began. All that beginning stuff, I hope you never look at that shit again. But in case. And I just remember the question right now. Just know all the basic stuff that I repeated like 8 times. Mucosa, submucosa, myenteric plexus, arborvitae, all those silly names. It's going to be very simple for the beginning. The part that's really going to screw you over is now on. Cool? So we have the oral buccal cavity, mechanical digestion, chewing food. I'm reading the slide, by the way, guys. So, chewing food, mastication is smashing it against the hard palate with the muscular tongue, and increases surface area, which makes sense. Increased surface area facilitates enzymatic activities and gustation. That's mechanical. In a lot of places we're going to talk about, there's going to be a mechanical portion and there's going to be a chemical. Mechanical is like, who gives a shit? The most important thing we need to know about is chemical. Good? The chemical portion. The parasalivary glands secrete the majority of the saliva, right? Salivary glands are secreting saliva. Saliva is composed of water, mucus, buffer enzymes, right? Enzymes, and the enzymes are going to be salivary amylase, and amylase, I think of the Amy. I think of my friend Amy, and what Amy likes to do is what? What does she like to break apart? Carbohydrates, right? Amy is always going to the gym, right? And what does she want to do? She wants to burn carbs. So, and this where we could say, you know, you're gonna have to know where stuff starts, where stuff ends. Carbohydrate digestion starts where? Oral cavity, right? Start breaking it down in the oral cavity, because you know we're gonna talk about where stuff you could break, stuff you can't break. So that's the first one. So salivary amylase is carbohydrates, and lingual lipase. Lingual lipase brings what? What's lipase? Fat, right? So what do we just do right now in the oral cavity? We are breaking carbohydrates and we're breaking fat. Did I say anything about protein? No, I did not. See how that works? And I got mixed up with that, but just figure it out.
No protein.
Absolutely no protein. Protein is going to be in your tummy.
I thought he said that we don't do any fat digestion.
Yeah, that's what I
Breakdown in the mouth either. He said we secrete the lingual lipase from the tongue, but it doesn't work unless...
It doesn't work, right? It doesn't work, but it's possible that it could work. In order to break fat, what you need is lingual lipase works better in your stomach, which gets carried down to your stomach. What you also need is bile. It emulsifies the fat because it's concentrated, right? But in my opinion, the fact that it's secreted, it still could happen. That's my whole point.
He wouldn't like confuse us.
No. And if anything, we'll talk about it in a second. This was a question on the exam. Which of the following is secreted? Which of the following is not secreted by these salivary glands? Right? And he just put stuff in there. What's the answer to that? Somebody.
Protein.
Lingual lipases. You know where lingual lipases comes from?
Your tongue.
Your tongue. Huge. And it's so crazy. I don't know. You would think it's one of the salivary glands, right? Because it's so major, but it's not. Lingual lipases come from your tongue. Are we good? And again, that will be a question on the exam, guaranteed. A lot of people don't know that, and I'm sure some of you didn't. Yeah, a lot of people don't, and I don't blame you, but he said it and lectured my whole point. You just probably went through it because there's so much shit. But yeah, lingual it's a big deal if you really think about it. You have the salivary glands secreting all this crazy stuff, and lingual lipase is huge, right? Your tongue. If it wasn't the exam, I think he'd play a joke on me. You think of your tongue, but it really does, which is pretty crazy. Okay? Also does lysozymes. You don't have to worry about that too much. Antimicrobics and iodide. Where else did we find iodide, kids?